Hello Fleet, and today I'm going to make a bit of a short video, and this short video is going to address whether the Atlanta or the Cleveland is the better A platform. Now, I mentioned yesterday this is because I had a bit of a debate with someone, and they insisted that the Cleveland had better numbers, better DPM numbers when it came to their AA, and I said that the Atlanta has better AA because you're more likely to be able to use, shall we say, that range on your guns, because the short range guns, really not many planes will get into that range for those guns to really have any kind of effect. But the debate kind of raged, and the person said, in their experience the Cleveland was better, and well, we had a bit of a disagreement. So instead of arguing something without any kind of basis, I am gonna go take a quick look at the stats, and then actually take them into battle and show you how I'm gonna do the testing here. So first up, it's the Atlanta. Now the Atlanta has on the rating a 39 rating, and if you look at the way the Atlanta has its AA guns, it's got these 20mm guns, these 28mm guns, and these do 40 and 48 damage per second respectively. But if you look at their range, it's like 2 and 2.1 kilometers. So truth be told, these guns, they don't really fire all that much. Now the Atlanta does get these AA guns that stretch out 5 kilometers. So if you combine this with the captain skills, the basic firing training, advanced firing training, as well as the AA module, these things reach out to about 7 kilometers. And when you throw on the defensive fire ability, that is quite a lot of damage to be putting out at that kind of distance. The Cleveland, on the other hand, has slightly different sort of a setup. It's got these 127mm, which are these 5-inch dual-purpose guns, and these also have 5-kilometer range, but because there's less of them, they do less damage overall. Then you've got the 40mm Bofors, and then the 20mm Oerlikons. And while the Cleveland has better damage per second from these 20 and 40mm guns, only the 40mm really ever gets into enough range to actually fire off. The Oerlikons, with their 2.1 kilometer range, really doesn't really come into play that much from my experience, at least. So that's why there was this debate, right? And of course he argued that the Cleveland also had an actual float plane fighter, while the Atlanta had nothing. So there's really only one way to resolve this, which is to go into a training room, throw some carriers on the other side, and then basically take these ships in with the same commanders and everything, sail on the same map, the same sort of course, have the carriers send planes, and enable the A ability and target every plane you can and see how many you can shoot down, and we'll see whether or not one is more effective than the other. So let's get going. Well, here we are. This is the testing ground for me. First up, 3 Shokakus on the other side, and I've got an Atlanta. As soon as their planes get detected and come into range, I pop the defensive AA fire ability, and as you can see, planes are starting to fall out of the sky. And that's one of the things about the Atlanta that you don't really see it in the port screen, is that the long range AA, when coupled with the defensive fire ability, is really able to knock down planes at quite a good range away, actually. And as you can see, by now it's already 9 planes down from Shokaku and Atlanta. And of course, remember, you're never really going to see 3 Shokakus in a real battle. The max carriers per battle is 2. I simply had 3 carriers because I wanted to saturate the skies, and there you go. As the ability ran out, I backed myself 13 plane kills. Once again, trying the exact same thing with the Cleveland, plotting the same course, having the same number of Shokakus on the enemy team. Once again, as the planes come into range, pop the defensive AA fire ability, as well as launch the float plane fighter, and we'll see how many I'm able to bag. Now, one of the things that I noticed while I was recording these clips is that while the Atlanta seems to be able to pretty much knock down a plane or two every single time you hear that popping sound of the AA going off, the Cleveland doesn't really seem to get that. You see a lot more of the 40mm guns going pow 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 pow, but planes just really don't come down that quickly. And as you can see, as the ability runs out, I only managed to bag myself 9 plane kills. Now, if I only did this experiment once, well, it would provide unreliable data. So tried it again, this time with 4 Rangers. And these are tier 7 carriers, first in the Atlanta. And as you can see, every time you pretty much hear that pop going off, like planes start falling out of the sky. And that's the one thing I noticed about the Atlanta. She seems really efficient at being able to just knock planes out of the sky compared to the Cleveland. Cleveland seems to be, you know, you fire a lot, and oh, there goes one plane. While the Atlanta seems to be able to take down a few more planes, you know, in the same duration of time that the ability is active. And in this particular case, as the consumable runs out, I managed to tag myself 13 of these Rangers planes. Once again, repeating the exact same experiment in a Cleveland, and this time, just to, you know, some people say, okay, well, the scout plane fighter wasn't up, so I tried to launch it early, but as the scout plane sort of circles around, you know, sometimes it engages, sometimes it doesn't. So, you know, again, once the planes came into range, pop the defensive AA fire ability, and as you can see, the planes just don't come down as quickly. Now, there we go. The scout has finally sort of engaged, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm firing off as much as I can, and the ability is definitely going. And yeah, as the ability runs out right about now, I bagged myself 10 plane kills, which is 3 less than the Atlanta. So finally I decided, yeah, heck with it, let's just totally saturate the skies with planes and see what happens. Here's the Atlanta. I stuck 6 Ryujos on the other team, so you're going to see like a wall of airplanes coming out. Defensive A fire ability is on, and just watch planes start falling out of the sky. Mind you, there is a ton of airplanes. I mean, when I first saw this, I was like, whoa. Yeah, that's a little bit more than I had hoped for, actually. But nevertheless, watch the Atlanta just bring these planes down. There's 7, there's 8, 9, and just look at that. It's pretty quick in terms of bringing these airplanes down. 12, the ability still going. 13, a lot of torpedoes getting dropped, by the way. I mean, it starts lagging there. 15, 16, and as the ability starts to run out, right about here, I'm gonna bag myself 17 plane kills. Same thing with the Cleveland. Exact same number of Ryujos on the other side. Pop the ability, and let's see what happens. See what I mean when I say like the planes just don't seem to come down as quickly as the Atlanta? Like when you were watching the Atlanta bit with all the Ryujos, it was just like the planes were just dropping out of the sky. So here we go. I mean, the Cleveland is really going. I mean, it's still shooting down planes, mind you, but you know, as the ability runs out, you'll see that it does come up just a little bit short. So there we go. As time runs out right there, I've only managed to bag myself 13 plane kills. So Cleveland versus Atlanta's anti-aircraft. Now I would say that even though the Atlanta has worse numbers, the Atlanta has better performing anti-air in-game, and there's a reason for this. It's that because the Atlanta has better long-range anti-aircraft guns, and that defensive fire ability only affects those long-range AA guns, and that defensive fire ability is what boosts the damage of that long-range AA to pretty absurd levels. So the result of that is that the Atlanta is able to start bringing down planes earlier, and over the entire duration of the ability, it just is able to shoot down more planes. And the Cleveland, while numerically on the numbers looks like it's better, it isn't able to make up for that lack of long range damage with the sort of shorter range damage, and so the Atlanta definitely comes out as the winner in this particular engagement. So hopefully that has answered that particular question. So go out there, get in your cruisers, and go wreck some planes and knock them out of the sky. Have a good one. See you on the high seas.